Thanks, Carrie. $5 super sticker. Very generous. Thank you. Looks like we have Beth Gonzalez, Carrie, Miss Dog Lover, what up? Jill Moser, Greg King. Eyes on the road, King. Eyes on the road. Be safe. Safe travels. I'll hit you with it. Everybody knows. We don't like text and driving. It's not safe. Here, we'll hit him just so he knows.
Give me all you got! Vincent, give me all you got! I swear, me and my brother.
All right, guys, we're diving right back at abuse in Delphi. Today, we're going to focus more in on Keegan Klein's timeline overlapping with Richard Allen. Miss Dog Lover with the super sticker. Thanks, guys. Carrie, Miss Dog Lover. Feeling generous. Thanks for the support. We've been getting a lot of support lately. Big shout out to all of you guys. Appreciate it. Scorpio, what up? Patty, how you doing? Okay, I think we'll start with the timeline of Keegan Klein's involvement with the Delphi murders. And we'll get going here in about a minute or two. Yeah, Miss Dog Lover, I appreciate that. Thank you. The channel definitely needs all the support it can get. But the thing about having a YouTube channel, like you shouldn't have to tell your subscribers like, hey, donate, donate, donate. You should be making your channel so badass that they just want to do it on their own. So if people aren't supporting your channel, it doesn't mean beat them down more. It means create more excitement or change topics or do more work. engage more. That's one thing that I'm learning. You need to engage with your audience. You can't build up this whole channel and then just leave everybody hanging. Can't do it. At some point, it becomes a bit of an obligation. JR, you mean like grape fumes? Hey, I didn't say it. But if the shoe fits, go ahead and put your little Cinderella foot on in that slipper. But if it don't, it's all good too. Cyber Warrior, JR Girl 22, and Julia Burns is in the building. You know what that means?
Excellent.
Time is it? All right, we're at the 6.5 minute mark. So we'll get going here in just a few. Let's hang out in the chat for a little bit. It's funny. Well, since we're going to try to be a YouTuber, I mean, got to pay attention to those things. I was watching an interview with one of the most successful YouTubers, Mr. Beast. I'm not a fan of his. I don't follow him. I like some of the stuff he's been doing on television with those games and that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. But one thing he said that kind of stood out to me, he's like, man, I was on YouTube for like, I think he said 10 years. He's all, I had like 500 subscribers. And then I realized I was making shit content. So I started making good content and my channel exploded. So only time will tell what kind of channel we have here. I know there's some lurkers out there thinking right now, like, this channel sucks. But we got love for them too. They're usually bipolar anyway. We'll just wait for them to kind of cycle back around. Yeah, it's a good business model. You want to pay attention to successful people. They always say, well, go live your dream. All right. What's better than playing detective on a YouTube channel that you're basically, you control everything that happens with it, right? So you're kind of like your own boss. Everybody wants to be their own boss. And if you get enough subscribers and enough viewers, you sell advertisement that at once only went to YouTube. Now you get a percentage of that. So all day I get to engage with people, build a brand, and potentially imagine if we could get to where we really wanted to go. Imagine if somebody posts like, hey, look, there's this case, missing person, and it's over here. It's in Wyoming or whatever. And we're able to just mobilize. Like, boom, we're already on our way. We got a few off-road vehicles, a handful of drones, and some manpower, and some kind of maybe a local guide that we can connect with, some kind of a guild, so to speak. But yeah, imagine if we had the resources to do something like that. And I think if you can make a good proposal, you might even find a way to make the government pay for it. Like, how do we get our hands on all that government money? Dogs. Some bloodhounds. Yeah, I'm not talking about a bunch of flunkies, some wannabe YouTubers kicking over rocks. I'm talking like a legitimate mobilization of a crew. Like, we're up in the sky. We got thermal cameras. All right. We just hit the 10-minute mark, so we're going to get going. Big shout out to everybody who is here with us right now live. Not to hate on you, replay crew, in the future, but, the live crew is where it's at. That's right, Julie. All right. Timeline of Keegan Klein's involvement with the Delphi murders. February 13th, 2017. Abby and Libby are murdered on the Monon High Bridge Trail in Delphi. Libby's Snapchat activity shows she posted a photo to Abby on the trail at 2:07 p.m. Remember the correlation throughout this between Snapchat and the movement of Abby and Libby and Keegan Klein's connection to Snapchat. And almost like the feeling that the bridge guy was able to track the girls. His movement even leads me to believe that, right? Keegan Klein says, we went to the cemetery with my dad and another friend. Well, obviously that's Richard Allen, right? If he's telling the truth. Abby and Libby's friends post to Snapchat, like right around, I think it was like 126. Right at 127, you have Richard Allen, what appears to be leaving the cemetery and parking at the CPS building, almost as if to block them off. Like, here, I'll just get them right here. So I don't know if either they're trying to create a product or silence two girls for whatever reason. Because when Richard Allen approached those three girls, he saw them, they saw him. They reported him as being like a guy who was very angry and moving with purpose. So I think it was as simple as him saying, "Up, that's not them. That's not Abby. That's not Libby." Okay, 2:07 p.m. and a video captures a man's voice saying, "Guys down the hill, the girls are reported missing when they fail to meet a family member and are found dead the next day." Klein, living in Peru, Indiana, about 40 miles from Delphi, is later linked to the Anthony Shots account, which had communicated with Libby the night before via Instagram and Snapchat during a sleepover and the next morning. But I wonder if that's what Vito meant by the day of. So when he says the day of, maybe that's just, late into the night, into the early morning. This early action suggests Klein was on the radar shortly after the murders, though the warrant's specific focus, Delphi or child exploitation, is unclear. Not anymore. Well, not publicly, but us that have been digging, we know exactly why the FBI and ISP raided Kagan. It was because of the Delphi murders and most likely the ski mask incident. Ski mask incident happened on the 20th. We also know that Keegan Klein looked up that family or somebody related to that family who was involved in the ski mask incident. They reported that incident, and within their report was the name Anthony Shots. Like, hey, I was communicating with Anthony Shots, gave him my address, and we now later found out that Keegan Klein would often do that. He would get girls' addresses and not send them anything. What does he need their address for? What is it? It's almost as if he's plotting to do what happened to Abby and Libby, and then again shortly before that Vegas trip, which was the ski mask incident, which was, I believe, the first time they mentioned Anthony Shots, or the first time that it became a pattern. Like, right, the first time you hear it, it's just Anthony Shots. Okay, who's this guy? I don't know. Who knows who that is? Second time you hear it, it's like, okay, something's up here. They even mentioned during the interview with Keegan Klein, this is how it all started, and this is how it all started last time. And that's what they were referring to was the ski mask incident. So they had Keegan Klein looking up the family on the 19th, ski mask incident happening on the 20th, the Klein family flying to Las Vegas, returning on the 25th, and that's where we're at now. Indiana State Police, excuse me, it's getting dry. All right, that's a little better. Okay, so on February 25th, ISP FBI execute a search warrant related to the Anthony Shots account. Leading investigator to Miami County and eventually to Klein are leading investigators to Miami County and eventually to Klein. This early action suggests Klein was on the radar shortly after the murders, though the warrant's specific focus, we know, was absolutely Delphi. Okay, so let's fast forward, right? Nothing happens. There's no arrest. They let him go home. He brings back the phone. They're, that's another charge, but they don't charge him right then and there. I don't know why. And then 6 months go by. Keegan Klein moves in with his friend Dirk Hayes. Dirk is living with his mother and his father. Dirk moved in basically down underneath the basement, and Keegan Klein was just kind of like the troll that lived in the back corner, coming and going, couch surfing. Well, also during the interview, Keegan Klein stated that Dirk's father, who is basically the same age as Richard Allen, also had access to the Anthony Shots account. So I don't know what that means. You remember, Keegan Klein's the boy that cried wolf. It's lies, 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 and then it's hard to believe, the bombshell. When to Las Vegas, moves back, and believe it or not, here, let me pull this photo up. This is kind of trippy, actually. Hopefully it's just right here, but it never is, right? Nice. I'm kind of shuffling through some things here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this is gonna, I don't know about you, but it blew my mind. All right, share my screen. Gosh, takes forever. Okay, so this is an old photo here. They shared this on one of the documentaries. That's why it kind of looks like a screenshot. So this is some random sleepover. I don't think it might have been a year before the actual crime, or because no. But he moves back to Indiana and begins dating this girl right here. How creepy is that? That just shows you what type of a predator this guy is. That would be his way of reliving that crime constantly. She was also interviewed by the Murder Sheet podcast. That's worth listening to. I think on that interview, she said that she believes he could be involved in that, in the Delphi case. So comes back, moves in with her, and I think a couple months go by. All right, a couple months go by, and now we're at August 19th, 2020. Klein, then 26, is arrested in Peru on 30 felony of child pornography and obstruction of justice murders. A 194-page transcript of his police interview obtained by the Murder Sheet podcast reveals investigators question him about the Anthony Shots account and his communication with Libby. Klein admits creating the account to solicit nude images from underage girls, but denies intent to meet them in person, citing loneliness. I was just lonely. He also mentions failing. Remember, he wasn't just lonely. He was making these girls do some disgusting shit. It's all outlined in his case file. Remember, he was never officially charged for Delphi, but he's in prison for, I think, 43 or 46 years. So during his trial, a lot of information came out, and the truth of how disgusting he is. So remember, psychopaths will try to play, oh, little old me, poor little old me. I suffer from all this mental health issues. My dad used to flick me in the back of the head. Shit like that. But keep in mind the date, August 19th. August 19th at this point actually kind of turns into a strange anniversary. Okay, so he's charged. And we know more about those tramps. We did live streams on them. I did videos on them. I know them pretty well. There's a lot of interesting things that I believe were overlooked. Or maybe they weren't overlooked, and there's just a lot of information that we still don't know. I mean, how does Keegan Klein talk about using a burner phone to meet people on Craigslist in Las Vegas, and then they don't even second guess it? It's kind of weird. It's kind of like some Dan Doolin shit. Let's see. Klein admits creating the account to solicit nude images from underage girls, but denies intent to meet them in person, citing loneliness. He also mentions failing a polygraph test in 2017. And admits to deleting the phone after an initial raid 2 weeks post-murder. Now, why do that? That's because after he got raided and they let him go, all the other people who were involved in the murders got together and talked. What'd they say? Are they after me? What's going on? Let me see your phone. And that could be when they got rid of some shit too, at that point. Realizing, oh shit, the ski mask, and that's what the ski mask incident was really designed to do, was to prevent that. So that's why you have the ski mask incident happening, because that's what law enforcement to Anthony Shot, and that's what led them to the perpetrators potentially, right, of the crimes. And that's what they were trying to prevent, most likely trying to tie up loose ends. Like, we need to kill this person. She's the only person that if they question her, well, you might want to look into this Anthony Shots character, because Anthony Shots is actually Keegan Klein. And he's been catfishing people. Tried to catfish me. It didn't work. I called him out on it. That's somebody you might want to look into. So the killers go over there to prevent that from happening. It wasn't successful. It has the opposite effect. It actually brings attention to the Anthony Shots account. So it had the reverse effect. Let's go to the chat real quick. Karen Hick, welcome in. Julia says, hold up. KK said that he was at the cemetery the day of the murders with his dad and another friend. Yes. Remember, his dad came back to the car and said, we just had fun. You're not a compulsive liar. Ha 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 ha. Bad timing. Sherry Faye, what's up? Welcome in, Robert. Jari. Thank you, Jari. Welcome in, Angela. I believe Richard Allen is the bridge guy. I think that's all they were able to prove, though. You know, how do we close the book on just that? That's one thing I have a problem with. Cases being closed with 10% of the truth. I don't like the idea of that. Well, we know he's the bridge guy. Okay, charge him with murder. Give him 133 years. Now what? That's it? You had Abby and Libby murdered in the middle of night at one of their favorite places, and that's it? Damn. I feel like now in the age of social media and advancements in technology, like us in the private sector might need to step up a little bit more or try to. Giuseppe. Howdy. Tony N. I missed you there. What up? All right. Don't get Okay. Investigators suggest his father, Jerry Tony Klein, may have used the account based on speech pattern analysis and question Klein about Tony's potential involvement. December 6th, 2021. ISP releases a public appeal for information about the Anthony Schatz account, confirming it communicated with Libby. This marks Klein's public association with the case, though he is not named a suspect. The accounts use a male model's photos. You guys all know who that is. Klein's admission to contacting over a dozen underage girls, including Libby. December 20th, 2021. Klein appears in court for a pretrial hearing on his CSAM charges in Miami County, further linking his name to the Delphi investigation and media reports, though no murder charges are filed. March 30th, 2023. Klein pleads guilty to child exploitation charges, a step toward his eventual sentencing. July 27, 2023. Klein is sentenced to 40 years in prison for child exploitation and pornography charges. In a post-sentencing interview with the murder sheet, he maintains he had no role in the Delphi murders and offers little new information. Remember, during that interview, though, Keegan Klein says something about I met with the boys and that he hopes that later on he can. Now we know it was a full confession. Everybody just wants to go ahead and sweep under the rug. August 19th. Hey, there's that date again. What's going on with August 19th? So just a year to the day prior, they arrested Keegan Klein. So it's his anniversary. Hey, welcome back, Keegan. So you had an entire year to kind of think about, what you want to do. That could include lying, but I don't think he is lying. So here we are, 1 year later to the date, August 19th, 2022. Klein is temporarily transferred from Miami County Jail to ISP custody, coinciding with a 5-week search of the Wabash River near his former home in Peru. Starting August 19th, may be connected to the Delphi case, possibly based on information Klein provided. We now know that to be an absolute truth. That is why they were searching the river, was specifically because they took Klein into custody on his 1-year anniversary. Like, look, you've had a year to think about this. What's it going to be, buddy? He took him to Delphi. He brought him to the cemetery, and he told him that he waited right there, and that his father and somebody, an unknown third person, went down, committed a crime, came back covered in blood and mud, saying, "We just had a good time." Is it a lie? If it's a lie, why would he lie? It's been a year. Maybe he thinks he'll get something out of it. False confession. Karen, do you think KK was offered a deal after dragging Lake to give up Richard Allen's name of involvement? I don't know. I don't know if he gave them Richard Allen's name or if he gave them information that led them to Richard Allen. But we'll get to that. Okay, so here we are, a year later. Klein is temporarily transferred from Miami County Jail to ISP custody, coinciding with the 5-week search. And prosecutor Nick McClelland's father said they had a good time regarding the murders. 6/20, Richard Allen is arrested, charged, shifting focus to him. So this is where I want to stop, because we've been telling this part of the story all wrong. Well, at least we're not emphasizing a key detail. And that's what I want to do today. So remember, they started searching the Wabash River on the eve of Keegan Klein's arrest. And they eventually were out there, I think, up to 5 weeks. Okay. Well, at the end of the 4th week, and let me see if I have this information handy. Let's close that. I'll close that. Let's see, the lost tip. That's when Leggett was handed. Okay. The top part and starting right here. So the search concluded September 28th. But here in Richard Allen's probable cause affidavit, so that they can go search his home, or I think after they searched his home, one of the two, says here on September 21st, I think this is pre-search warrant. They're kind of explaining why they have probable cause. 22. Was from Orion to it was from DNR Lieutenant Dan, the NIV went as such. So it's not like the search concluded after 5 weeks. They were bummed out, started kind of going through old information. 2 weeks went by. They're like, oh, look, a lost tip. I guess it was good that we came and we dug down here and we found this. Nothing came up with the river search or the Keegan Klein stuff. Look, we found something. That's not what happened. They had Keegan Klein come forward on the anniversary of his arrest and give the only official confession to date with the Delphi murders. It's on video, it's tape recorded, and even Nick McClellan is there, which might be inappropriate. I don't know. That was inappropriate. I don't know. But they begin searching that very day, right? Keegan Klein says, yep, here, take me to the cemetery. This is where I was. I waited in a car. My dad and a buddy went out. An hour and a half later, they came back. Vito even admitted that he was fully aware that Keegan Klein searched the Marathon gas station in Delphi. That Marathon gas station is like a block away from Richard Allen's home. So, I mean, that's a hell of a coincidence. House long to die in cold. House long to die in cold. It's just random. One of those things. I had to explain that. You got Anthony Shot shots for the night all the way up until she disappears. The same guy who created that account searching the Marathon gas station. Wild. Call me crazy. Okay. So they decided, all right, well, we found, where'd this lost tip come from? So you're trying to, you expect me to believe that Keegan Klein had nothing to do with this tip right here. This has got to be the most incredible coincidence I've ever witnessed. Right? The only official connection about that fits everything. The only reason that Keegan Klein, they say, was charged or otherwise charged is for he had an alibi. And remember, Klein's father did not have an alibi. Keegan Klein had an alibi, and he, in return, was his father's alibi. So their alibi was attached at the hip. But we all know that Keegan Klein's phone was attached to his cousin's Wi-Fi. And he even denied that. It's like, bro, it was attached. So they had to know that he was using somebody else using phone so he could I hope that that, right? What do I know? What's up, badass? So this is they didn't stop digging. This was a right? You expect me to believe the search? You didn't anything during the search? Like, how do you explain that? It's almost look, this is going to be a conspiracy theory. Don't quote me on this, but just stick with me here. What if they, we have these tentacles? We got these rabbit holes that Doug Carter's talking about. What if they're searching for the phone and they find it? What if they didn't like what they saw on that phone? What if there was somebody's name in that phone or information to somebody that they know? I mean, somebody hit his, right? Somebody has their thumb on the scale. Who is it? Is it the F maybe? Right? They're the ones that lost the marathon CCT footage. They're the one, right? Sheriff's office said, well, it was an empty. Handed her the tip and she fucked it up. FBI saying, nope, we did everything right. It was filed appropriately. So somebody messed with the information. It's a lead sheet, is what it is. Somebody wrote cleared on it. So I think it would be a simple find out the FBI employee and hey, tip. You might ask you. You might say no. I was that day. You know, people make mistakes. People make mistakes that have catastrophic outcomes, and some people win the lottery and ride off into the sunset. Julia says, if I'm in a town I'm unfamiliar with, I'm not going to care gas station. Gas Marathon gas station had to be a meeting spot. I interpreted it. It's very specific. They say yes, he searched Marathon in Delphi. Right. It's almost as if house me at the station. And with the creepy guy early in the morning near the private drive, and let's forget Dave McCain. He has, let's get rid of that. That's a separate conspiracy theory. But what about this boxy car that was there in the morning and the boxy car that Betsy Blair saw later in the day around 2:14? The kind of old style car. Very boxy. So how do we know that's not part of where the plan started? They're already doing recon. We know that Richard Allen was already in Peru early in the morning at around 8 a.m. You got Keegan Klein logging in and logging out in two separate devices into the Anthony Shots account. We have what appears to be somebody stalking their victims via Snapchat. It was called the Snapchat murders at one point. And if you look at the timeline, right, you have Keegan Klein saying, well, we went to the cemetery. Well, right at 126, you have the girls, the friends of the girls posting to Snapchat at 126. And it looks like Abby. The photo looks like Abby with the camera covering the majority of this person's face, but it looks like Abby. So if you're targeting Abby, you see this photo coming up on Snapchat. And if you're stalking them via Snapchat, you're going to rush like, oh, they're over there by the bench. I'm going to rush and cut them off. Park at the CPS building, leaving right at 127. He's seen on the Hoosier Harvest Store video. A minute 30 minutes later. So as if he's stalking through Snapchat. Snapchat up, he leaves cemetery or the direction of the cemetery. 2 seconds later, park at the CPS building. The girl said, this guy's really moving. He was moving with purpose. It looked like he was having a bad day. Well, it's because he saw them and realized, well, that's not my target. He can't just turn around and go back in his car. This is getting done for whatever reason that day. This is getting done. Walks all the way. He's on his phone. What is he doing? Oh, I'm watching my stock ticker. No, you're not. You're on Yubo or some shit. You're getting ready to document a crime for whatever reason. And that might be what the purpose of the Las Vegas trip. And meeting people on Craigslist. Because you don't do that for drugs, and that's what he said it was for. Well, I mean, I guess he is an idiot. Maybe an idiot would do that. What's up, Dark Side? All right, because of time, let's see. Okay, key testimony related to the lost tip. Okay, on September 21st, 2022, Shank discovered a box of tip sheets in a desk drawer while organizing files. Look, I don't I believe her. I believe her when she says that she found it. But you can place something in an area that somebody else will come and be searching, right? If you put a chocolate under your wife's pillow, she's going to find it. Like, oh, look what I found. Well, did she really do anything, or the person that placed the item there, did they do all the work? And you just kind of stumbled upon it. Because that's what it sounds like to me. And if it wasn't for somebody writing cleared, and the fact that the FBI was involved in the whole lost tip thing, involved in letting Keegan Klein go for almost 3 years, and then also fucking up the CCTV footage from the marathon. Imagine what was on that footage. I know that there was some footage of some other weird stuff going on, people deer hunting, blood in the truck, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. If Keegan Klein searched the marathon gas station, what if that was the connection right there? Right? Just putting your thumb on the scale right there. Let's say you're an FBI agent, you're crooked, you're protecting Mr. Big, right? Mr. Somebody who's connected to the Vegas client, right? Tentacles, the largest CSAM operation in Indiana history. That's how it was sold to us in the beginning. Oh, well, maybe we fibbed a little. No, it's always that first response that you got to trust. Darkside says, would have had to been to meet up with someone, you think? Yeah, I don't want you to come to my house, bro. Don't come to my house. I'll meet you at the Marathon gas station. All right. Okay, look up. Gives his phone to probably it was probably Trexler. That's his alibi. Like, here, use my phone, go about your business. And then they probably took one of his old beat up vehicles. Some beat up vehicle from his grandma or one of his he has a lot of family members right there. Wherever that could be the boxy vehicle. That could be the vehicle that was there at 9 a.m. the drive, right? We got to go to Vegas, man. And we're going to Vegas on the 21st. We got to hurry up. We're running out of time here. We got to get into a place where we can, do what we got to do. All right. Well, we got these two girls, Libby. We got Libby. Well, let's go check it out. Early in the morning, they go check out the private drive. Remember, the lady testified. Hey, there was this weirdo. I didn't recognize him. It wasn't a kid. Kind of messing around over there by the gate of the private drive. That's 9 a.m. 8:30, 9 a.m. At 8:45, that people started seeing the vehicle parked weird even. So you get a guy messing around over there at the gate of the private drive right around 8 in the morning, 8:30ish. And then you have a weird car that's parked out of place, is how it's described by Brad Heath. So I think those two items could be connected. So you check out the area, right? You're checking out the area, and then you drive back to Peru, right? Maybe that was even Trexler. Maybe that's what Trexler's job was. Maybe show a photo of him to the woman that saw the guy messing around by the gate. It might match. He does the recon. He's been promised something. Drive to Peru. Comes the alibi, like, hey, well, you got to get on. I'll be your alibi. Just say that your dad was you. You got covered. We'll hear the phone at your mom's. Here, take this burn. You eat your mom's all day, and Keegan Klein was over here. What he does, looking at on his phone. His dad, they're with their cousins, bouncing back and forth, and cousins. They live right up the street from each other. All right. Shank testified that she started volunteering in 2017 as a later took on responsibility for and logging them into a database. She had entered over $14,000 or 14,000 tips into the database over 2 years. The discovery of Allen's tip sheet occurred when investigators were moving buildings in 2022, and she was sorting through files to digitize them. She noted the tip was significant because it indicated Allen had self-reported being on the Monon High Bridge. Now remember, this is happening on right at the end of the 4th week of the Wabash River search. 4 weeks after Keegan Klein has officially confessed, and really is the only official confession, right? We have Kathy Shank digging through some files and finds Richard Allen. They up the Wabash River? No, they don't. They already know who Richard Allen is. Dan Doolin is already looking him up in his system, finding suspicious activity on his behalf. Do they stop searching the Wabash River? Because now they realize, they've spent $850,000 on a 4-week search. And Keegan Klein must have been lying because we got Richard Allen, but he's not connected. Nope, that's not what they do. They searched the Wabash River for an entire week after. Just saying. She noted the tip was significant because it indicated Allen had self-reported. Yeah, but then who wrote cleared on it? Is it possible the same person who found the lost tip hid the lost tip? No accusations. I don't want to take anything away from anybody. But don't we have to ask that question? Isn't that what people do? He lights the fire. Be a firefighter, right? I lit that fire. Let's go and let's go put it out. Shank remembered the day of the discovery, September 21st, 2022, right? The lost tip narrative. Let's put that back up on the screen. Bam. So the day she's digging around her files, what the hell? Who the hell is Richard Allen White? Well, I'm sure it must be an error. So not only did this file, there was an error on the name, and it was also this is fucked up. Right? The tip is under a trifecta. That's not an accident. It doesn't seem like an accident. It's a lot of what ifs, right? Mess up the name, place the most important tip in the wrong location, and then on top of that, you're going to write cleared on. Jeffrey Epstein. All right. Leggett was a detective with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office in 2017 and was elected sheriff in November of 2022, shortly after Allen's arrest. Those who have something to gain. Basically buddies. That's a different theory. All right. It's important to look at those who have gained from this. Who stood something to gain? Who had something to gain? Leggett testified that the tip about Allen provided by Shank in September of 2022, it stuck out, guys. This tip, right? Man, this is some scary shit because he was unaware of anyone reporting seeing three girls on the trail that day. And police believe that the person on the bridge guy video was the suspect. So it makes you wonder, like, how could only one person interview the three girls? I mean, yeah, this is just bizarre, guys. I mean, whew, hindsight though, right? He admitted that the tip sheet from February 16th, 2016, when Allen self-reported being on the trail, had been marked cleared. Not only that, his last name was listed as Whiteman. So, by someone he believed was a dispatcher. So, So the tip was handed to an FBI employee, but they believed the person who wrote cleared on the lead sheet was a dispatcher. But it shouldn't have been cleared. Leggett stated that Ann got lost in the cracks. Right? 2017 to 2022, right? It's almost as if somebody messed up his name on purpose, right? I'm going to write the wrong name. That'll help. I'm going to clear it. And then I doesn't have anybody. Like, oh, what's over here, Kathy? Oh, that's that already digitized. That so I've completed that file. Okay, go mark clear and put it right in that pile. But it's definitely somebody close, right? Somebody by. I always, for some reason, I pick the girl in book. He's like, why don't you keep your stuff in? She's like, I have my own system. Hasn't failed me yet. And then it ends up fucking up everything. But really, it was sabotaged. See what I'm saying? You see where I'm going with this? Let's see. The tip sheet from February 16, 2010, when itself reported being on the trail, had been marked cleared by someone he believed was a dispatcher, but it shouldn't have been cleared. Leggett stated that Allen got lost in the cracks and was hiding in plain sight. Crossed by Rosie about the time of Allen's arrest, which occurred weeks before Leggett's sheriff. Rosie could have benefited Leggett's campaign. Leggett denied this, stating, "It was never about me, bro. It was about the murders of two girls." So that makes you wonder, he may have something to do with when it comes to Tony Leggett. Maybe he could have had this case solved. And then he hid the tip. He's like, when the time is right, we'll bust this guy. He's not going right with it. Then he must have just freaked that dare. Something, I know who it is. It's this guy, Little Allen. Harmless. He works at CVS. And that's when you have people like the old prosecutor, Ives, out of there. He's like, look, man. And then you got Toby saying, have fear at all. I was like, no, that's a strange thing to say. Even Mullen looked at it, and he had to correct him later, like, yeah, you guys, you can make up your own mind. But I thought it was weird that Tobe Lesenby said that. No, I don't have any fear for the public. It's almost as if he was behind the scenes having a conversation, hypothetically, with somebody like Tony Leggett. But I do. I like like you owe me. You know, that's when the brotherhood stuff came. That masonry thing. It's not like he's responsible for the actual act of the murder, but seeing scheming, never letting a good crisis go to waste. Leggett, all the this is descriptions of all right, let's go. Giuseppe said what work truck broke down. He was working for his father's business. Kevin Hammond clear. Yeah, I think that they figured out. Well, interesting. The person that it actually was turned out to actually be a offender, but it was almost possible for him to where he was at that time and then be part of the Delphi murders. But yeah, that's an interesting story. Yeah, that's an OG story for sure. We're having some audio issues. How about now? Here, I closed a bunch of windows. Let me know if that helps. Boston, what up? Hopefully it's better now. I had a shit ton of items open. Off and on. Echo still? Okay, hold on. Let me try this. That's it. It's almost done anyway. Not echoing. I hate that shit. It's like 15 degrees here right now, guys. I always feel like when I have issues with my internet, it's when it's the hottest out, which is basically right now. It's OG. Original. Yep, the fishing license error with his weight and his height. But I think when you suffer, if you're like a alcoholic, maybe dabble on and off, I think that could affect your weight and your height. I think your weight can affect your height. Let's say you got this huge beer belly. I feel like it's going to make you kind of hunched. Lose your beer belly, there's nothing pulling you down. That fight against gravity. Yeah, hopefully we're good now, Jari. Hopefully. Is that people guns were test they tested all of his 40 caliber firearms. He's in all the Delphi Facebook groups. Let's see. Steve Mullen, former Delphi police chief and investigator for Carroll County Prosecutor's Office. Mullen conducted an interview with Allen in October of 2022 after the rediscovery of the tip. Mullen testified about interviewing Allen after Shank provided the lead sheet in 2022. Allen told Mullen he arrived at the trail at noon and left at 1:30, which is bullshit, right? So if Richard Allen is telling the truth about showing up or leaving at 1:30, then who are the three girls that he saw coming in that match the exact same description of the girls that testified against him during trial? So how is it that he saw the exact same description, but his description belongs to a separate group of girls? Remember, he even said, well, two of them look like they could be sisters. Well, two of them were sisters. He said they looked like they were babysitting. Well, they were babysitting. So you expect me to believe that right around 12:30, Richard Allen parks at the CPS building, walks to the head of the trail, and right at the exact same moment, but just 2 hours earlier, a very similar group of girls, hey, and coincidences, they do happen. I'm just asking, who are they? Now, if you can bring me three other girls that can say, yeah, we ran into a guy that looked and dressed similar to the bridge guy, but not quite, but it actually was at 12:30-ish, not 1:30-ish, I think that would change everything. Or corrects posture, you lean back when skipping. I jumped on. Like a boxing workout. Clyborg, I'm in Canada, so internet must be crazy everywhere. I don't know. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. All right, let's talk about Dan Doolin, Indiana Department of Natural Resources captain. Doolin testified that on February 16th, 2017, Allen contacted authorities to report he was on the Monon High Bridge Trail between 1:30 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. on the day of the murders and had seen three girls, which matches up with the three girls who saw the bridge guy. I mean, Richard Allen is the bridge guy, 100%. There's just no doubt about it. And he was blindsided about the bullet. It's almost as if he thought somebody was going to be protecting him. Right? He was interviewed and was let go. The Kleins were served with the search warrant, let go. He must have had confidence. Let's see here. Doolin typed up notes from this unrecorded conversation and submitted them, but the tip was misfiled under Richard Allen Whiteman and marked as cleared. And they, to this day, still don't know who did that. Holman said, no, we don't know who wrote cleared. Probably does, but as far as the public's concerned, nope, they don't know who did it. September 2022, after Shank rediscovered the tip, Doolin was contacted by Steve Mullen, who asked if he had spoken to Allen in 2017. Doolin confirmed the earlier interaction by checking his notes, which showed Allen's details, including a change in his fishing license from height of 5'4" to 5'6" in April of 2017. Doolin added how initial tip was overlooked due to the incorrect last name and premature clearance. So what if Doolin just wasn't really paying attention? And it was 12:30. I just don't think that that's likely because Richard Allen, he met up with him personally. It's not like he just called and said, "Hey." It was very specific. I don't know. That's all I have for you guys today. Um, if you have anything you want to add, or if you feel like we missed anything that might be relevant, but the point of today's live stream is every time we try to talk about Keegan Klein or Richard Allen being connected, we always kind of explain it as if, okay, they had the Wabash River search, a whole lot of time went by, you had a couple weeks, almost a month go by, and then you had the arrest of Richard Allen. But the truth is, they had Richard Allen's name smack dab in the middle of the Wabash River search. And then they want us to believe that, right when they're searching the Wabash River, after the one person who was connected to this from the very beginning confessed and caused you to start that search to begin with, right in the middle of that, you find Richard Allen's name just by dumb luck. Well, I guess stranger things have happened, but man, that's like not only is it a pill that you can't swallow, but it's almost a pill that's the size of your head. Like you wouldn't even try to swallow it unless you're insane. You would crush it, snort it, or make a shake out of it or something. CJK, what's up? It was good to see you guys. Clyborg, Darkside, Boston Christian, what up? Jari, Giuseppe, Julia Burns, Sees Through, what's up? Badass. Sherry Faye, Karen Hick, always good to see you, Karen. Special thanks to Carrie and Miss Dog Lover showing some love. Thanks for the support. All my members, you guys rock. Thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you for the hard work you put in. All of my moderators and people who are watching. Big shout out to the replay crew. Make sure you guys leave a comment. And I'll do my best to get back to you. If you need to reach me, sleuthintuition@gmail.com. Jari knows what's up. And thanks for watching. If you guys can, hit the like button on the way out. If you can't hit the Cash App, hit the like button. And if you want to be really helpful, go share the video. But if you don't, I won't be mad at you.